Hello YouTube, my name is Jess Dash. I am a longtime foster care advocate and a survivor of the foster care system. I have done a number of trainings and webinars all over the country since probably about, I guess I would say 7th grade was the first time that I actually sort of tried to make anything happen with foster care. I'm 23 years old now. I was adopted just before my 18th birthday, 3 months. So if you hear me say 17 and then sometimes 18, it's because I was adopted in May and my birthday is in August. So sometimes my memory tells me I was adopted at 18. Either way, I was adopted at an age which is quite rare for most kids to be adopted out of foster care. Primarily because people foolishly assume that adopting a baby means that you get a kid without baggage. And I'll make another video on that later, but all I'm going to say on that piece of adopting a baby versus a teenager is that you still have the same baggage. It just manifests itself in different ways. So there's that. But the purpose of this video is to maybe shed some more light on, in the spirit of graduation season. I know a lot of people are graduating high school and getting ready to go off to college. A lot of parents are preparing their kids. And I want to talk about something that is not talked about often enough. Oddly, this is a problem that affects any person that pays taxes. So just so you know, this is my family. This picture was taken on the day that I was adopted, and right outside the courthouse. And I want to talk more about what happened to my life that day, and how I believe that my adoption really didn't make the difference, in the sense that it wasn't signing the paper that made the difference for me. What really made the difference in helping me to sort of overcome all those years of instability and dysfunction was the fact that for the first time in my life, someone made it, you know, their job. My parents made it their job and their priority to get me connected to counseling that I needed. And because of my mom's position at the university, I had access to a good education. And I didn't complete college because I came to sort of a crossroads when in my freshman year, which turned out to be, I think like 4 months after I was adopted. I realized that it wasn't, me completing college wasn't a matter of having, financial support and resources, but that there was a huge amount of work I had to do to overcome the trauma I faced in foster care. And I challenged, because at an age where the majority of people in my generation, the majority of my classmates and my friends are turning 18 and they're driving their own cars and they're getting their first apartments and this, that, and the other thing. I was on that path, just developmentally speaking, but internally, emotionally, I had a lot of work to do. And when it came to balancing my emotional needs with what I was actually capable of producing in a classroom environment, I realized that if I was ever going to really address my issues head on, that I would have to take a break from school. And as anybody watching this video knows, life is full of unexpected surprises. So through the course of doing that therapy work, it opened me up to a number of other professional connections. So I'm hoping that next year I'll be able to get things worked out to get back into school. But in the meantime, I feel a responsibility to share my message and to encourage other kids to go through school, to get through school no matter what. And I realize that that's a bit hypocritical, because I generally like to live by the principle that you don't give advice to anyone that you haven't taken or would not take yourself. So it's on my list of things to do for sure. But right now, sorry, I just want to adjust the lighting here a little bit. But for right now, my primary focus is really creating a system and an environment where youth who do have time on their side and who do have, they're faced with the decision of what they're going to do and how they're going to build their lives after they leave care. I want to encourage everyone to, if you have education opportunities, to absolutely take them. And as a message to the caregivers and to some of the people who support these programs, whether you're helping kids fill out college applications, or you're donating backpacks or school supplies for them to get through school, or if you're a foster parent with a youth who's about to leave your home, or if you're a youth who's about to age out, I think that we have a general responsibility to make everyone aware of why we need support. As they say, there's the old adage, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And we're pretty much like rusted and falling off. We're beyond the point of being able to be squeaky anymore. So here's my last-ditch effort at trying to maybe spread some awareness about this. So in order to really make this clear for someone who doesn't have experience with foster care firsthand, I need to sort of be realistic about feelings that come up for me in the course of daily life. And one example that I try to give people when I'm talking about foster care is something that everyone's experienced, which is seeing a homeless person on the side of the street. And the evidence that our education system and our foster care system is not working lies in our overburdened Social Security system and the number of people in our prisons and jails and rehab facilities in this country, which is more than in any other place in the world. And also to really highlight sort of the connection between these kids who grow up to be, you know, we're forgotten kids, first of all. Our parents weren't there for us. The legal system and the foster system can only do so much. And then society, once you leave foster care, society says, they pat themselves on the back. Good for you, you made it to 18, you're an adult now. Our job here is done. And I really would like to argue that that's actually probably where our work should start. It's sort of redundant to say that education is a link to success in life and that it breeds further success for generations, yada, yada, yada. So let me highlight, first of all, hopefully through my story, how I realized that that's true. I was adopted by a upper middle class family. My mom is an administrator at a private school, which I think I probably said earlier. And so in my adoption, I had the opportunity to really be exposed to a lot of things that had I been in foster care or had I not been adopted, I would not know about. I found sort of a voice for the very short time that I was at school in academia. The fact that I could learn about history the history behind different social movements, the fact that I could connect with other people who, regardless of what their discipline was, they were doing something with their lives, made me aware of what I could be. And I think for a lot of kids who age out of the system and end up being, societal problems later on, the difference for many of us is that some kids had people to expose them to things to help them realize their full potential, and other kids just didn't. I really believe that the difference comes down to one interaction that opens someone's eyes to what else is out there. And if we don't make education a priority, I mean, there's the whole on-campus housing thing. It's like, okay, so if you age out and your track is to go to college, you have the advantage, at least for the next 4 years, and this is all vacations and holidays aside, you know where you're going to be. You have a place to stay, there's going to be a roof over your head and warm running water, plain and simple. And even that, although it's a very small part of the college experience, can really be, can alleviate so much pressure to go right back into, to jump right back into the pool that got a lot of our parents into the situations they were in when they had us, and then we ended up in foster care. And so let's go back to the homeless thing. So you see a homeless person on the street, and I think the average person will say, you'll look at the guy holding out the sign that says, "Please help, I need money, I'm homeless," and you'll think to yourself, wow, that person must have had a really tough upbringing. And you go on about the rest of your day, because we can't stop living because somebody else is in pain. I get that. I get that the world cannot stop going on and that there will always be problems. But what I'm saying is that at some point, if we don't want more problems, someone has to pick up the bill for this. And someone has to put the same connection between that book that everybody's read, A Child Called It, by David Peltzer. I think that's his last name. So you look at A Child Called It, and if he had not been educated and exposed to people who realized his potential, who saw something in him and said, write that story, do your work, talk about this, and empower people, you can guarantee that he would probably be one of the very same people on the side of the road that we just sort of forget about. So education is important because it provides an alternative to the trajectory that a lot of kids are already on, which is not one that it's not a path that's ripe for success. It's ripe for drug addiction, it's ripe for more abuse, it's ripe for crime, poverty, all of the problems that we have that Americans are paying for. You pay for it in your taxes. It all comes down to focusing on our children. And it's not about No Child Left Behind. I don't think it's about reforming education necessarily, or donating more money to this cause or that cause, or voting for any particular political party. I think this is a general issue because it's so much bigger than politics. Every child deserves a family. And if the system that we have in place doesn't work to provide kids families like we promised, I feel that as a society, we at least owe them the opportunity to get a freaking education and get on with their lives. And whether they grow up to become advocates for foster care, or they start their own businesses, or they become, professional sports players or musicians, we have to give them something. Otherwise, if we continue to just say that's somebody else's problem, we can continue to expect to see the many, many areas in which we have failed them.